Now, I knew Barney well enough to know that when Barney said he would try, that Barney would try. And the next Sunday I showed up, and I half expected to see him there. He wasn't. But the next Sunday he was. He had somebody, actually it was the other member who had studied with him and brought him to Christ, push him in his wheelchair. And he had a stick with the IV bag on it with the drip going into his side. He had a port. And everybody shook Barney's hand. I was taken off guard, caught off guard when I shook his hand, because what I remember is how strong Barney was, and his handshake was so frail. I sat next to Barney that day. The men gave me that. I sat next to Barney that day. And these guys were so funny. So we had some announcements and we prayed, and every time that we would sing, these guys, because I said one time, this was like 3 years earlier, I said, when we're singing, and I pulled on my music teacher background, I said, when we're singing, if we stand and we're supporting our singing, it's better. And so they just decided that standing for singing was something that they would always do. And so they stood up to sing, and Barney stood up out of that wheelchair, and I put my arm around him and kind of missed the port and missed the line, and held on to his opposing elbow and held the book for him, and we sang, and it was Barney. It was horrible, and it was beautiful, and it was sweet and tender. We had a lesson, I forget what it was. Took communion, and I took communion with Barney. He took communion with everybody. And all the guys were kind of watching him this whole time, watching him. We got down to the end of the service, and the brother who was in charge of the service, one of the inmates there, he said, I'm wondering, Barney, would you mind saying our closing prayer? And I wish I had had a recorder. I don't even remember what Barney said. I just remember that as he stood there, like a leader, like a man to pray, that it was the most sincere, the most beautiful, the most heartfelt prayer I think I've ever heard.